Hello everyone, it's been a while. I've been busy with work and haven't had a whole lot of time to sit down and really film anything or have any time to myself really. Um, I was debating whether to do a wrap up or not because I haven't really gotten the time to sit down or read anything in the past month or so. I did make it through 2 books and a few audiobooks, so I feel like that's enough that I could do a wrap up. Um, it is October 13th now, so it's better late than never, right? It's only a week off from September, okay? So this is my September wrap up. Um, I'll start with the physical copies that I read. Um, So I read Marked by Masks and Secrets by Maggie Sansuri. This is one that I had gotten from Fake Crate, and it's this really nice edition. They just announced that they're going to be putting out the second one, and I kind of want to buy it, but I'm also very hesitant. I really wanted to like this book, and it's given me really mixed feelings on it. This is basically about this girl, and she lives in this world where there's witches and vampires, and the witches have different types of abilities, and she's basically what's called a chaos witch. But she's been hiding that because being a chaos witch is considered a bad thing, and chaos witches are the ones who created the vampires and whatnot. So to the vampires, she's considered very valuable, and to the rest of the world, that's seen as a bad thing, and their magic is something that's hard to harness and stuff like that. So she goes through most of her life pretending to be a green witch. Instead, she kind of hides behind it. It's oh, I just do growth and healing magic and stuff like that. And then she comes across this vampire, or I guess you could say the vampire comes across her, and then that's kind of where her life starts to go downhill. It is a romantasy. It does have some smut in it. This is where I become mixed on it, because it has an interesting concept and story. It really left off on a cliffhanger that really makes me want to pick up the second book, but I did not like the male lead. This is a dark romance, so I've been trying to give dark romance a try lately, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, or if this one is necessarily for me. It had, the main character, the main girl, is really good. She's written really well. She's a really thought out character, and there's a lot of character development with her, and you really get a feel for her backstory, why she acts the way she does, why it was so easy for her to fall for the male lead. But the male lead I didn't really like. He is kind of that stalker trope. He's abusive, and it writes off a lot of his abuse as I'm doing it because I love you kind of thing, that cringy kind of thing. I didn't like that, and he's just not well written. There's no reason for why he likes her, why he's so obsessed with her. And every time it switches to his point of view, it's just him obsessing over her. And it's just, I don't know, when it's on her viewpoint, you get a really good idea of her character, why she likes this guy, and, but with him, it's just instantaneous. It's an insta-lovey thing. He just sees her and he's just oh, I need her. That's the one. I'm gonna go stalk that one. I'm gonna make her mine, and I'm never gonna detail why. That's just lazy plot writing. It's one of those plot convenient things where he just needs to like her just because that's what the story needs. And it never like goes into detail why. And so I just never liked his viewpoint either, because it was just him obsessing over her. Like, are you plotting a rebellion with the vampires? You're like their leader and stuff, and they'll be having like important conversations, and he'll just be like, where is she? Where is she? I need to know where she is. At all, like every single time. And it's like, dude, chill. Chill. And I think another thing that annoys me, it does this, like, it conveniently ignores, like, a lot of the shit that he does. Like, the beginning of the book, he's just really forcive and, like, abusive. And then they try to be like, oh, but he's, like, a good guy because he, like, asks her for consent. But then it ignores, like, at the first half of the book, how he like basically molests her like twice without her consent. But then halfway through the book, it's conveniently ignoring that, and he's like, oh, I'm a good guy, I'm not gonna like rape you. And it's like, yeah, you just molested her instead. Like, what? And then when they do get together as a couple, it's like everything he did, like anything abusive in the first half of the book, just disappears, and he starts just acting like a normal, like, romance, like just like a normal guy. And I'm like, what? Like, what? And I feel like it got kind of a drag in the middle of the book, because a lot of the story elements get dropped for like the romance elements and to put in like the smut scenes. And so there was a point where it's like, what is the story? Like, where is this going? Does this have like a clear ending? But it does like pick up and finally start getting into like the story towards the end. But for a little while I was like, there is no story here. I think there's one more thing that bothered me. Oh yeah, they went to like a kink dungeon, and he's like trying to make this whole thing about like consent and like scenes, because I guess the BDSM community always like prides itself on consent. But it like meant nothing because of everything else he did in the beginning of the book. You just can't get behind it because this guy just isn't like that. I don't know. Like, there's this scene where these guys are like trying to like gang up on her in this dungeon, and they're trying to like take advantage of her, and he like swoops in and saves her from like the bad rapey guys. And I'm like, you tried to rape her. Like, I don't know, like, and it did have its moment, where she realizes what he's really like, and understands she's falling back into like this toxic kind of relationship like she had with the guy she was dating prior. And so she runs away and leaves him, and that's how kind of the end of the book leaves off. And it's really good. But 1 minute, I gotta get my cat. Sorry about that. My cat was trying to eat my computer. She's been obsessed with the cords on it lately, so I had to go and detach her from the cords before she chewed through it, because she's already chewed through a keyboard and a mouse. So yeah. But yeah, I just feel very mixed on this book. Like, I really want to continue it because it left off on a good note, or not a good note, but just like a really interesting cliffhanger. But I just know she's gonna end up back together with this guy in the next book, and I just can't get behind the romance aspect of this book because of it. And I think one of the things too is that it tries to put in other plot points and it just kind of drops them. Like, there was a huge plot point that had to do with her ex, and it like just forgot about it for like over half the book, and then it kind of brought it up again, and then they just dropped it again until the end. And that was kind of the catalyst for like what made her realize that this guy wasn't like what he was. And like it's, I kind of hate it because they wrote her so well. Like it's so accurate to like abuse victims and like how it's easy to fall for like love bombing and stuff. And but then they just take like all that good writing and then just throw it out the window because she'll like realize what he's doing, but then she'll just like conveniently ignore it and just like fall for him again. And it's like I don't know. So like the ending was really good, but I just have a very strong feeling because plot wise with the second book, I just know that they're gonna get back together and he's not gonna be a changed guy. I can just guarantee it. They're gonna be like, no, that's romantic. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts and opinion. Like I don't know. That got real ranty. It's been 10 minutes already just focusing on this one book, but I don't know. Maybe if I find the second one on Libby or somewhere cheap, I might get it. I don't know. I don't know. Like I really wanted to like it. It has a good ending in my concept, but just I can't get behind the male lead. Like the main male lead, I just can't get behind him. Just can't do it. The second one I read is Lights Out. This one I did like. Like this one was actually one my friend recommended to me. He actually recommended Caught Up because he found the audio book for it, and he didn't realize they were out of order, so he listened to Caught Up first. But it's one of those series where they're like in the same universe, but they're just kind of loosely connected with like background characters and stuff. So you could read them as standalones if you want to. But I'm currently in the middle of reading this one. It's only I think I'm on chapter 8. I started it like a couple weeks ago, but I just haven't had this time to sit down and read. But I'm not sure how I feel about this one yet. I'm not sure if I like the characters as much as I like the ones in this one. But I definitely enjoyed Lights Out. I feel like this is a guilty pleasure read. Like a lot of people kind of gave this one crap because they said it wasn't like well written or anything. I think the writing and prose was actually pretty decent. I think people kind of missed the point of this one. Like it's labeled as a dark romance, but it doesn't feel like a dark romance. It feels like a satirical thriller. Like trying to think, like if you've ever watched the movie Nobody or like The Hitman's Bodyguard, it has like that type of humor. It's like very satirical. It's really funny. It has like, it doesn't take itself seriously. I think that's what I liked about this one. It knows it's silly. It knows like its wording is kind of dumb, but like I can see why people think it's cringy because I don't think I can find it again. Because there's one line where I took a picture of because I'm like, this is so ridiculous. But there are a lot of lines where she's like, I got to like have double protection and stuff because I can't trust my ovaries, or like my ovaries are just flinging eggs at the sky. Like I don't know, like it is kind of cringy, but it's funny. Like it doesn't take itself seriously. And compared to the other book I was just talking about, this one has consent in it. There's definitely more of a level understanding between the characters. They don't want to hurt each other or anything. And I don't know, I really like this one. So Lights Out is, I think this is actually considered like a mafia, like dark romance mafia, even though that doesn't happen until like later in the book. But this is like basically about a girl who has like this mask fetish for this guy she finds on the internet, and he does like thirst trap kind of content with a ghost mask. And for the longest time I was confused on like what kind of mask they meant. I'm like, oh, Ghost, like the band Ghost, Ghost as in like the Thriller movie Ghost, and like it kind of seemed to never like specify. And then like Probably Smut put out like a special edition with the cover where it definitely looks like something from like the band Ghost. Like it looked like they had like Papa Nil face paint. And I'm like, oh. But then in the book, like halfway through, it describes it as being like horror movie thriller mask. So I'm like, oh, like the horror movie. And then like you try to look it up and people have like so many renditions of this mask. And then of course on the front cover it just has like a skull. So I'm like, what does this mask actually look like? I guess it doesn't really matter, but I don't know why I just hyper focused on the way the mask looked. But yeah, so like she ends up like texting her friend being like, hey, I want to have like sex with this mask on, because they were like a casual hookup. And he's like, no, I'm not interested in that, I moved on. I'm with like another girl now. And then he finds out that his friend, well, he doesn't find out, but his friend is the guy who's making these, but he doesn't know about it. So his friend is just like, oh, who are you talking to? He's like, oh, just that girl I hooked up with. And he like shows him the video when she was lying. He's like, oh, you know. So he like goes out of his way to like find her and stuff, because she did ask for him to like, you know, come and find her, and because that was like their kink. And so yeah, it's kind of interesting. I don't know how to describe it. They're like communicating through his profile and stuff, and she doesn't know his identity because he's wearing this mask. So there's kind of like this mystery behind it. And then once they start like hooking up and, you know, getting together, they're like doing these like little things to each other to try and like find out his identity and stuff. And I think the one thing I didn't like about this book was in the beginning with like the video cams. I did not like that. Ever since like it's like I think 2010 when they came out with that whole thing where they're like, oh, people can hack into your video cameras and like film you and watch you. So I've been paranoid about that like ever since. So the like the cameras in this book like kind of set off that paranoia in me. And I didn't like, they kind of tried to justify it because their friend's like, oh, that's just how he shows that he loves you. And it's like, I get it, wanting to keep like surveillance and stuff, but like that's also creepy. But overall, I liked this book. It's a guilty pleasure read. It was fun. It doesn't take itself seriously. Like, it's very satirical. It is smutty, but it actually has a good story. And the smut scenes, there's only like 2 or 3 of them, and they're not very long. And it actually is predominantly story driven. So this book isn't smut for the sake of smut. So if you actually want like a decent kind of funny story, you might want to pick this one up. I don't like think I would call this a dark romance. Like, it's labeled as one, but like the characters care about each other too much, I feel, for it to be a dark romance. But then again, I've only read one other dark romance book, so compared to that one, this one was actually like pretty lighthearted. I do have more dark romance books that I bought. I haven't gotten around to reading them yet, though. I've been very hesitant to like try dark romance because I don't usually like darker topics in like romance, especially when it comes to like intimacy and stuff. I kind of like my books to feel like a hug. Like, I'm one of those people where I want it to be like comforting, because life is just so stressful that I just always want something lighthearted. But lately I've been getting not like bored, but like I do every once in a while like to try something different. I do like to try things at least once. So, and on that topic, I've been going through a lot of thrillers lately because I have been dying for a good thriller, and unfortunately I have not found it. In fact, this has reminded me why I hate thrillers and why I initially don't read them. It's because they're really good and they have a really good build up, and then the ending sucks and you're like, what the hell was that? So I think out of all the thrillers I've read, I think I read like 4 or 5 of them, and there was only one that I ended up liking. Okay. So, Listen for Life by Amy Tintra. This one I actually really liked. Oh, no, I'll take that back. There was 2 thrillers that I liked. This one and The Eyes Are the Best Part. But we'll start with Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintra. This one was really good. And I don't know. This one is also very satirical. There's like this very sassy, kind of humor-driven main character. And like, this one kind of like subverts your expectation for a thriller, because at the beginning they're straight out like, yeah, I may have murdered this person or I may not have. I actually don't really remember. And so it's kind of like her view of the story, and it's really good. So it's about this main character who, she had an accident when she was younger, like in her early to mid 20s. She was at a wedding with a friend, and then her friend gets murdered, and then they find her like walking away from a crime scene with like dirt and stuff, and they think she killed her friend, but she has no memory or recollection of what happened. And because of the harassment, she like moves away to a new town, starts a new life. And then the beginning of the book starts with a like true crime podcast, basically dredging up this case and what happened. And so she loses her job because her employers, or like one of her coworkers, finds this podcast and brings it up, and they're like, oh, we don't think we want a convicted, or like, you know, someone who might have done something on our workforce. So she gets fired, and she's kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do with my life. And then her grandma convinces her to come back to her hometown, come to this birthday party, and, or maybe it wasn't her grandma, I think it was actually her aunt. It's been a while, so I don't remember exactly, but she's like really old, so she's like guilt tripping her into coming to her birthday and stuff. And just to find out that this podcaster was also in her hometown investigating this case. And it turns out that this relative was actually trying to hook her up with the podcaster. But she thought this was a good idea, because if she did an interview with this podcaster, then it would like get her side of the story and everything out there. And it's actually really interesting, because then she kind of teams up with this podcaster. He becomes very invested in her side of the story, and they kind of try to figure out what happened together. And then they go all to like all these places to try to like reignite her memory, to see if there's anything that she could remember. And this actually had some like really good family drama in it. And it just like describes on like her relationships and how this case has like affected her relations with other people, and like how her family members view her, and like whether people are afraid of her or not. And it's really good, and it had a really good ending because it kind of like ends in the way you would expect a thriller to end, but like the plot twist was good because like you didn't immediately like think, oh, this person did it, but then it's like, you know, it gives you like subtle hints that when it gets towards the end, you're like, oh, and you kind of like start putting the pieces together. So it was really good. I highly recommend this one, and I actually recommend the audiobook because in between each chapter they do like a segment where it sounds like, you know, it's the guy's podcast, like he's doing an episode from the podcast with these interviews talking about it in between each chapter, and they actually do a really good job making it sound like an actual podcast. And it's just really interesting too because like you get these interviews with like the family members and like the townspeople, and because it's been so long since the case, they start like slipping with the info and the lies that they told when the story first happened, and you kind of see the drama from it ensue in the chapters and like the way it ties in with the story. And it's just really good. I highly recommend it. It's not long by any means. It was only like a 9-hour listen, so it's quite a short story. I think it's probably just like a novella length, but it's really good. I highly recommend it. I tried to listen to Gone Girl. Like, everyone's been recommending it, and it won like awards and stuff, and it popped up on Libby, and I was like, sure, I'll give it a chance. I did not like the writing style at all. It does not fit a thriller. It is so, like, the writing is nice, the prose is nice, but it's so frilly for like a thriller, like mystery, like, and it's like too detailed of description that it kind of distracts from what's happening. Like, this guy finds out that his wife's been kidnapped, and like it just goes into this long, like 5-page description of what the room looks like, of everything being turned over, and but none of it was relevant, like, unless it's describing something like on the, like, you know, like how some mysteries will describe a certain spot because it's relevant. Like, they'll go into detail about like something on the dresser because like something was left there and it connects later, and they're like, oh yeah, there's this thing there, but like none of it connects. It's just trying to sound pretty. So it'll be like, he'll like go off about how beautiful something was, or how it's scarlet and it reminded him of this and this and this, and it's like, sir, your wife just got kidnapped, focus. And there's a lot of exposition, and like context dumping. It goes on a lot about his weird relationship with his sister and how everyone thinks it's weird except for him. And I'm just like, sir, if all of your friends think your relationship with your sister is weird, it's probably weird. Like, and now I feel like the sister did it. Like, they keep mentioning the sister way too much for it not to be relevant. I didn't finish it though. I got like 20 to 30 percent into the book, and then it's like, I can't. Like, the writing style was just like scraping my brain. It was just rubbing me the wrong way. I don't know why, I just couldn't get into it. It took like 5 to 6 chapters for it to actually get into the main story. I don't know. If you've read Gone Girl, tell me how it ends, and tell me if the sister did it. Because I'm probably just never going to finish this one. Um, She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica. This one was really good at the start. It was kind of a slow burn, but like the story was interesting. Unfortunately, I didn't like the ending, and I felt like there's too many plot points, and then the twist was just kind of, I don't know, like I kind of saw it going that way, but then they wrapped up the main twist before they wrapped up the subplots. And so by the time they did the subplot wrap ups, I did not care anymore. It was dragging on way longer than it needed to. Like, so this one was basically about this nurse. She works in a hospital, and she has a coma patient. She dropped off a bridge. And like she's barely alive, and she's basically taking care of her, and then her parents come in and they like talk about it, and there's kind of like this mystery behind what happened to her and who did it, and that ends up later tying in with the nurse. But there's also like these other subplots, like they make it seem like the person who did it was like connected with this guy they've seen on the TV, and there's also like this subplot where she's getting like threatening letters and stuff, and a lot of it was just unnecessarily. They were just kind of to throw you off from the main plot. But they decided, instead of just using them as like kind of a red herring kind of thing, that they needed to be entire subplots and not just a plot device. And so it just goes into way more with it than it needed to. And quite frankly, they should have wrapped them up before doing the main twist, because then it just felt weird at the end, because then you know what the main twist is and what the character did, and then you just kind of look at the rest of it, especially the last one that ties in with like the news stuff. It's like, but where do you get off being able to judge about that? Because it's like you also did something awful. I don't know, it wasn't good. The character development wasn't good. It just, I don't know, I didn't really like it. It was really slow, and I'm kind of disappointed because I had high hopes for this one. Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. This one I was disappointed in this one because I was really looking forward to reading this one. And I actually had the physical copy, but I found it on Libby for the audiobook so I could listen to it while I was trying to get my chores and stuff done. And this isn't like at all what I was expecting it to be. Like, the story is basically their mother passes, and she tells her daughter, which is taking care of her, that her dad didn't disappear, that he, not to trust him or something like that, and then she like dies. So that's kind of where the mystery starts. They're trying to like figure out what she means. She calls in her other two siblings, and then like they're going through her stuff, and then they find these VHS tapes, and then they find out on the video that her dad murdered someone, and she caught it on video, and it was supposed to be erased but never did. And they basically try to figure out how to process this information, and instead of like, you know, going to the police about it and then like having a mystery about trying to figure out what actually happened, they're like, no, we're gonna hide this. And then like the whole book is just about the family drama, and it's split between the three perspectives. So each perspective is one of the siblings, and it's just so unnecessary because none of it correlates to anything. It's just each person's point of view is a, oh, woe's me kind of point of view. And it like, so when it gets to the end and it does like the twist, which I didn't fucking care. Like, I got so bored with this book because there was no build up, there was no connection to the overall twist. There was like nothing, there was no lead up to it. It like forgot that there was a mystery going on, and they just focused on like family petty drama instead of like actually trying to push the narrative with the mystery forward. So there was no like sub context, there's like no clues, there was no like overarching anything that built up to this twist, so I just didn't care. And when you find out what the twist was and what the character did, I was just like, alright, like, I guess it's kind of dumb, but whatever. And then when you think about like the parent, like what the parents did and their reaction to it and how they dealt with it, you're like, that's kind of like weird and kind of dumb. And it's just like, I don't know, it wasn't very good. I don't know, I was just really disappointed. I think the main thing that upset me is that it was just really slow and there was like no mystery or thriller. It's like marked as a thriller, and I'm like, where's the thrill? Where's the thrill? Is the thrill in the room with us? Like, the plot line's barely in the room with us. I'm being like especially harsh with my reviews today, but like, I have not had a good reading year. Like, I can only think of a handful of books off the top of my head that have been memorable and actually good. This one made me mad. This is The Lost Village by Camilla Sten. This one had so much potential, and then it ended in the most generic ass way it possibly could, and it makes me so mad. Like, it was a bit of a slow burn, but it's about basically this village, and all the people in it go missing. And so they're like doing a podcast, and they're going into this village. They're trying to basically do like a documentary on it to see what happened, and they're like visiting all the sites and stuff in this village. And the main person doing this podcast has like a connection to it because her grandmother used to live there. And she left behind all these notes and stuff talking about like her sister and how she's worried because there's this priest and he was like manipulating the village, but no one like was like really noticing it except for her, and she was getting ostracized, and then like everyone disappeared. And so it was pretty interesting. So she goes to like kind of investigate this and see what happened to everyone. And so like each chapter it switches points in time from like the present day when they're doing the podcast documentary to in the past with like her grandma and the notes and stuff. And it was really good. It was really interesting because then you thought it was gonna have like this build up, because it had like this build up with the priest, and you think, oh, this is gonna be like a cult kind of thing. No, it's not. I mean, they made it seem like it was going to be that way, but then the twist was just like really, really dumb, because when you actually think about her reasoning for it, it was like, like, I don't want to spoil it, because I'm sure some people might still be interested in listening to it, but when you find out what happens both in the past and in the future, or I guess the present, like the present of the book, I don't know, like, it was really good. I had this really good build up, and then it just really dropped the ball. And this is why I get so mad with thrillers, because they always have a really good build up, and then it's like they don't know where to go with the ending, or they're just, it feels like they just get tired of writing the book and they just want to end it, so they just come up with like a very half-assed like ending. I don't know. It's just could have been so good. And this one is the last one. I just finished this one Friday, So technically not a September read, but I'm lumping it in here anyway. This is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. This is the first book I've read in a long time that I actually feel like is worth the hype. Like, I don't know how to like the ending could have been a little bit better, but overall, like, the actual book is like really good. I'm not sure how to like label it. Like, people are mad because they think it's a horror book. It's not a horror book. I'm pretty sure it's labeled as a thriller, like marketing wise, but I would definitely call this more of like a psychological thriller. I do believe this is her first book that she's put out, so this is actually really good for being a debut novel. Or novel? Novel. 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 So anyway, pretty good for being her first book. So it's about this Korean American. She's, I think, in college. Yeah, she was in college because it talked about like her high school stuff and getting rejected for college and stuff. So she's about in like her 20s, and she lives with her mom and her little sister who's about 15, and her dad ends up walking out on them. Both her parents are Korean. They lived through like the Depression era in Korea and made their way over into America. And so it goes into like a lot of description with her mother and why she is the way she is and why she clung to this other guy so much. And it's actually really good. So where did I leave off? Oh, that's right, I'm rambling. Her father walks out on them, and this sends her mother into a bit of a spiral. She becomes very depressed. She waits at the door and stuff, thinking that maybe he will come back. And when he doesn't, she kind of like finds reasons to kind of like hate this guy, but maybe not really him. But she ends up reading like this article that talks about how like Korean men are bad and like all this stuff, and so she kind of internalizes it and starts thinking that maybe that's true. And so she finds like this Caucasian guy at like a Korean market, and it turns out this guy is one of those very pretentious guys where they're like, oh, I know Korean, but like they speak it really badly, and they have like this kind of fetishization for like Asian cultures where he's like, oh, I like and respect the culture, but then like clumps them all together kind of dude. And this really irritates the main character, but the mom just kind of like ignores these quirks, and she's just very desperate for a guy at this point. She's convinced herself that like she needs like a white guy, and you kind of know when reading this that you kind of expect that, you know, the character's gonna get off, but it's interesting. So basically it has like this really good build up of she brings in this guy, it starts irking her, and she finds all these like little things that start to rub her the wrong way, and there's really good symbolism in this story. Like, the eyes are the best part. So before she finds this guy, the mom talks about how like eyes from the fish are a sign of like good luck and stuff, and if you eat one, it's thought to bring good luck. So her mom is obsessed with eating fish eyes, and then to try to like kind of regain like some control in her life, she decides that she's going to start eating the fish eyes. And it's really interesting because in the beginning of the book, her and her sister like really hate them, the thought of like how slimy and like the texture, like squish of them, like grosses them out, but then she finds that eating them was actually really exhilarating and she really enjoyed it. And so she kind of like becomes obsessed with these eyes now, and then she starts having like nightmares and stuff about eyes, and she like hyper focuses on the color of her mom's boyfriend's eyes, which are like blue. So she starts seeing like everyone's eyes as being blue, and you can see where like the obsession and like the paranoia in her gets to her, and like it's just really good. It is a slow burn. There's definitely a lot of build up to it, but it's really good. And then you kind of see like it describes like her past with like her friends and stuff reconnecting with her, and you see these stories where you're like, oh, she wouldn't be past doing like some of these things that it's describing her, what she's like thinking in her head. And it's really good because you really see like at the start of the story where she's kind of like normal. So you have like where the story begins, and then you can see like the break from reality, and then just like the downward spiral towards the end. And it's really good. It's really good with the character development and the build up. A lot of people said they didn't really like how the boyfriend wasn't a fleshed out character, that he kind of just felt like all the stereotypes of like asshole white dudes put into one. And it does feel that way. There is like some stuff and wording that's very on the nose, but I've met people like that. I've come across guys where they say some of the most asinine shit, especially about other races. And so to me, it's like believable. I'm like, yeah, that's not that far out of the realm. But also he's not meant, in my opinion, I don't know the writer's thought process, but like to me it makes sense not to flesh out the boyfriend. He's not meant to be a likable character. He's not meant to be sympathized with. He's meant to be like a plot device that pushes this character into the spiral that she's going through. He's not like, I don't want to say he's not meant to be a character, but he's not meant to like be a fleshed out one, You're not supposed to really get to know him. And especially because as soon as you do know him, you're like, oh, something's gonna happen to that dude, because that dude's a jackass. Like, you just know. It's kind of like in horror movies where it's always like the racist guy that ends up getting offed first. It feels a lot like that. And so, like, it didn't really bother me that he wasn't very fleshed out, because I'm like, I don't really feel like he's supposed to be, because you're not supposed to, like him or sympathize with him. Whew. But yeah, that's everything I read. I guess I read quite a bit more than I initially thought I did, but this is already like an almost hour-long video. So, I guess I'll let you guys go now. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts and your opinions. If you've read any of these, what you think of them, if you like them or not, or if any of these actually sound interesting to you to read. I would love to know in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys again at the end of the month. Bye!